Hi, it's TeaQuilts, and I'm here today to talk about starch when we're actually pressing our quilt blocks or quilting fabrics. And I'll just start with the basics. You can always use plain old water. I actually have my water in this Mary Ellen's Best Press bottle. And I actually like recycling these bottles because I like the spray nozzle that's included with the Best Press bottles. So I hardly ever throw them away, and then when one bottle goes bad, I can just replace the bottle out with another bottle. And then when I put something else other than Best Press in the bottle, I do mark it with water. And then when I also put water in the bottle, I also use an essential oil. It also gives it a scent as well as acts as a preservative so that the water doesn't go stale, so I don't have to worry about it being in here for 2 weeks and, you know, starting to mold or mildew. I'll talk about the essential oil in just a bit. So that's the first thing that you can use to get wrinkles out of fabric. It will not leave any starchiness to your fabric at all. It's just a good, water is a great thing. It's actually a natural moisturizer, so it's one of the best things that you can actually do for fabric to get wrinkles out is to use some water. So the next thing I want to talk about is Magic Wrinkle Remover or a wrinkle releaser, and I use this as an alternative for getting wrinkles out of fabric. I actually use it more on the fold that's pressed in by the manufacturers. Those are sometimes very stubborn, and I find that wrinkle releaser or wrinkle remover works very well. Now this one comes in a spray can, and I feel like even though it's more of an ergonomically correct spray can, it has a little thumb indentation nozzle here or a finger insert there. So whichever way you want to spray, that is great, but I feel like spraying is always more intensive for me than using a pump spray bottle. So I've also used wrinkle releaser that has come in a spray bottle as well. So it doesn't matter which one you use. This one's more water-based, whereas this one's coming out as of a spray nozzle. It's still water-based, but this is definitely wetter than this. So either one will work. It doesn't matter, but when you want to get those stubborn folds out, this is what I recommend. The one thing that I don't have here is that I used to use a lot of regular spray starch that was in the can, and I have used all of those, and I don't purchase it anymore. I actually used magic sizing as well as premium spray starch, and I used to purchase those at Target stores. So I don't have those because I no longer use them, but that's also a starch alternative for you. The next thing that you could use is, although this bottle says Niagara, it was a starch in here, and I purchased it for the spray nozzle long time ago, and I have been using this for a while. What I actually have in here is Faultless concentrated liquid starch. So let me show you that container. This is how it comes. And this is the old school starch that we used to use when we did wash. So you have to add water to it, so a lot of people would add it into their wash cycle in the washing machine. Well, I use it in this container, and I fill it up with about 1/3 of starch. And then I fill it up 2/3 with water. And I tend to use more hot water from the tap because I want to be able to shake this up really good, and I think the hot water helps to thin it out just a little bit. And in addition to that, I also add in an essential oil because liquid starch will mold and mildew. And so to prevent that from happening, I will put an essential oil. Now I'm just showing you one here. This one is rosemary, and I use it about a teaspoon in this container to keep it from mildewing. So any essential oil will work. If you want to get a different scented like lavender, orange, or whatever, either one will work. I just happen to have this rosemary at my fingers, and that's what I put in. So we'll slide that one back. And now we're on to the one that everybody loves, is the Mary Ellen's Best Press. And this is a starch. I don't buy these anymore. I actually love this starch, but it's very expensive alternative to starch. And again, I say I love the nozzles that the bottle come in. So the only time I will have these is if I win them as a prize, or somebody gives it to me as a gift for my birthday or for Christmas or something like that. But a great starch. I just think it's very costly over the other alternatives that I use. So the last starch I want to talk about is in a Mary Ellen's Best Press container, but it's not that. It's actually the homemade spray starch made with vodka and water. There are many recipes online that you can Google to get this recipe, but I'll just tell you what I use. I actually use distilled water, and this container is just a 2% milk container because I poured the water into here because it was a little bit bigger, because I had to add my vodka in as well as I add in some essential oil. Now this one happens to be made with peppermint scented essential oil. So I marked on here what's in here, and then I put the date that I actually made it. And so when I made this, I had it filled all the way to the top, and so this is what I've been using. So what I do is, for every 16 ounces of distilled water, I add 2 tablespoons of vodka. It can be any brand of vodka. Just go to the store and get the cheapest bottle that you can find. Now, when I first made this, I wasn't sure what the recipe was, so I bought this big bottle, and I've made starch twice with this amount. So this is going to last me a very long time, so I would recommend you get just a small bottle of vodka because it's going to last you a while. So 2 tablespoons for every 16 ounces of water. And then I add in a teaspoon or 2 of essential oil. It just depends on how much you want to smell your scent. It doesn't really matter to me. I just pour in, and when I feel like it's enough, I shake it, I smell. If I can smell the scent, that's good enough for me. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to have anything that's mildewing on me. And that's another reason that I use the distilled water on this, because what makes this work is that vodka has potato starch in it, and so that's a food item to me. And so if I'm going to be putting that on my cloth, I want to make sure that scraps left over from me starching my blocks or my backings that may sit for years are not going to mildew. So those are my starch alternatives. How I starch, I'll just go ahead and tell you that as well. Sometimes if I have fabric like fat quarters or yardage, I'll go ahead and press with some starch. And if it's new unwashed fabric, I'll go ahead and use the homemade spray. But if it's been washed, then I will use my concentrated Faultless liquid because it will give it a little bit more crispiness to the fabric. When I do starch my fabrics, I tend to starch a lot of fabric. So if I have 20 fat quarters that I want to starch, I starch all 20 of them, and I just place them on top of each other, and I just keep starching. And then I go away and I go do something else for like 10 to 15 minutes because I want the actual starch to penetrate the fabric. Then I come back and I start from the bottom of the stack and I start to press them. That way, I am not having all the starch under the bottom of my iron. So I tend to wait, especially when I'm using the Faultless concentrated starch or any of your canned spray starches, because that will get on the bottom of your iron if it is not penetrated into your fabric. So these are my alternatives to starching. It seems like I got something wet. I've been making starch today, so that's why I decided to do this video, but my little table is wet here, so I have to figure out what's wet. I hope this was helpful and that I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye-bye.